But, of course, our next guest not only did a brilliant job, I mean brilliant, playing Dr. Melfi on The Sopranos, but she did play Ray Liotta. He also passed recently, his wife, Karen Hill, in the great movie Goodfellas. So with that said, here she is. She's been on the show many, many times. A dear friend, Lorraine Bracco. Lorraine, Sid, Bernie, how are you?
Hello, Lorraine.
Hello.
How are you, sweetheart? I got to tell you, for you, this has been a brutal month. Even before we get to Tony today, you heard the clip we played there from Goodfellas, and Ray was so brilliant as Henry Hill. You were so great, iconic as his wife, Karen. So, first of all, sorry from me and Bernie about Ray Liotta, but that was the first shock that hit you about a month ago, yes?
Yeah, I mean, the hits just keep coming. What can I say? God's, we're all in God's hands, so he takes us when he wants us.
Indeed, and the great Tony Sirico, you had a great relationship with Tony. He lived a very colorful life. You want to tell us, a couple of stories, maybe, tribute to Tony Sirico right now?
Well, one of my favorite Tony's, I never really worked with Tony, even though we were in Goodfellas and Sopranos. I never really had any scenes with him. So all my interactions with him was always social, and when we went to Hollywood for all the award ceremonies, and
right.
And he was always so proud, that we had this fantastic hit show, because we just did, and it was. I really do consider our Soprano cast family. I mean, we've been through everything: births and deaths and children and graduations and weddings and I mean just everything, and we've always kind of hung on to each other all these years. It's 20 years. But
yeah.
My favorite Tony Sirico story is he called me up one day and he said, "Listen, I'm going to do a fundraiser for St. Jude's Hospital, and we're going to do it at my friend's house, and I need to make amends." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I've been a really, really bad boy. I have to make amends to God. I want to go to heaven." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I mean, I didn't know a lot about Tony and his other life, let's put it that way.
Yes.
And I kept going, "But I don't understand what, how bad could you have been?" And he would be, "Very bad."
Very bad.
Very bad, Lorraine.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Should I be afraid to go further on this?" And he said, "Yes."
He was honest. I'll tell you what, he was honest.
I said, "Okay." So we do the St. Jude's event. We all show up. He makes, I don't know, $250,000 or more, that we got donations. And then he called me up a year later and said, "Listen, I'm going to go do another event for St. Jude's for the kids. And we're going to go on Ford. Ford gave me his yacht. And so we can only invite a certain amount of people. It'll be very expensive, but all the money will go to St. Jude's." And I said, "Tony, you still making amends?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." Oh, yeah.
That is a great story. That is a great
It
story.
ain't over yet, Lorraine.
Yep. Then he did make amends. In fact, his brother Robert, who's a priest, an ordained priest, was on with me and Bernie Lorraine about 2 days ago, and he talked about how his own brother went to Robert for confession and said, "Hey, I want to go to heaven. I've done some bad things," just like he said to you. Lorraine Bracco continues the tribute. Jamie Lynn Sigler was on at 7:40 earlier this morning. One of the things about The Sopranos, moving away from Tony for a second, because as you say, you did very little shooting with Tony. Almost all your scenes were with the late, great Jim Gandolfini. I said to Bernie this morning, I said, one of the more horrifying scenes in the history of The Sopranos was when Dr. Melfi, who I thought was the most important part of the show, because to me, Sopranos was less about the mob and all that stuff and more about a mob boss seeing a shrink. That was the beauty behind David Chase's script. So I thought your character was as important as anybody. Here you get raped in the stairwell, and at no point after that, there were many seasons after that, does Tony grab this guy like he did to Ralphie and rip his head off. Well, why was that the case?
Because if Dr. Melfi told Tony what had happened, he would have murdered him, hurt him, done something. And then that made me, an accomplice.
Oh. Because we wanted that. The viewers wanted to see that. We wanted that blood. But I see what you're saying, because you were trying to calm Tony down, and that would have made it even worse.
Of course, and then the relationship would have changed. And by the way, my father was screaming at the TV, tell him. I mean, so, it could never have been. It could have never have, maintained their patient relationship that it had to be.
Right, exactly. That clears that up. Thank you, Lorraine. Lorraine Bracco from The Sopranos played Dr. Melfi, and our tribute here to Tony Sirico. Lorraine, when the Sopranos was first airing, my kids were young, and when it aired, we made them leave the room. My wife and I, we sat down and watched. They had to leave because, well, for obvious reasons. And now my son, he's in his 20s, and he has watched The Sopranos twice, full, a binge watch The Sopranos. So you have a new generation of Sopranos viewers out there who love it. And do people in the streets say recognize you? And what do you think about that whole phenomenon of new generations exposing themselves to the greatest drama in the history of TV?
Well, I have a lot of fun with it because I either get the fathers who yell Karen and the kids who yell Dr. Melfi.
That's funny.
Karen, that was $60,000. Oh, the great scene. Such a great. Listen, yeah, there is a new generation that does love that show. But, Lorraine, I know that we're kind of joking around, having some laughs here, but this is actually a very sad morning because Tony will be laid to rest now in less than an hour. And even though, as you pointed out, most of your scenes were with Jimmy Gandolfini and not Tony Sirico, you spent a lot of time with Tony. In fact, you may remember you even visited me and Bernie at the old WABC studios at Madison Square Garden years ago.
I remember.
Yes. And then we went to Christmas parties together, you and I, and Ron Duguay and a whole bunch of other folks. So you've been on the scene here for quite some time and very, very touchable, which is a great thing, Lorraine, part of the charm that you've got. But if, in fact, I'll ask you the same question I asked Robert and Jamie Lynn earlier this morning. If, in fact, Tony is in heaven right now, and he's there because he confessed, and he's listening to this show, what would you like to say to Tony Sirico this morning?
Oh, I hope you are with your pal, Jimmy Gandolfini, my father, who Tony loved. My father worked in the Fulton Fish Market, and they would bull BS all night long. I want you to have fun. I want you to enjoy yourself. I want you to be proud of yourself for everything that you accomplished here on this earth with the Wounded Warriors. He was a great patriotic American, Tony. And I just want him to be happy and proud of what he's accomplished.
Oh, that's beautiful. Hopefully your father, Jimmy Gandolfini, and Ray Liotta, maybe they're all having breakfast right now listening to this. Hey, Lorraine, thank you. I know this is a tough morning for you, but it means a lot to me and Bernie that you called in. We love you. God bless you. And you're in our prayers as well as Tony and all the Sopranos cast members today. God bless you.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you so much.
All right, sweetheart. Lorraine Bracco, Dr. Melfi, The Sopranos, and again, Tony Sirico's funeral will take place in about 53 minutes.